2002 Infant Corpses of Wat Phai Ngoen, Bangkok. Have you ever heard that there was once a temple in Bangkok where over 2,000 infant corpses were found? It wasn't a legend, it wasn't folklore, and it didn't happen in ancient times. It happened for real, right in the heart of Thailand's capital city. And it all began with a dog. November 16th, 2010, Wat Phai Ngoen Chotanarama, Bang Ko Lem District, Bangkok. It was a hot and humid afternoon, as usual. Monks and local villagers were cleaning the area behind the crematorium, near a morgue storage shed. Then, suddenly, one of the temple's stray dogs ran out, carrying a white plastic bag in its mouth. The bag gave off an awful, rotting smell. A few villagers ran over and opened it, and froze. Inside was a tiny corpse wrapped in cloth. A baby. No one knew where it had come from, but the authorities were called immediately. When investigators arrived, they began examining the morgue behind the crematorium. Inside was a large cold storage room, its metal drawers stacked one upon another. When they opened drawer number 17, they were hit by a wave of stench, a mix of blood and decay. Inside the drawer were tightly packed plastic bags. Each bag contained something small and cold. When they opened one, they found hundreds of infant corpses, each wrapped individually. Some still had umbilical cords attached. The officers were stunned. There were 348 bodies in that single drawer. When they opened drawers number 9 and 10, they found 1,654 more. 2,002 tiny bodies in total, infants who never even had the chance to open their eyes. After a full investigation, the horrifying truth emerged. Several illegal abortion clinics in Bangkok had been secretly sending aborted fetuses to the temple's Undertaker for cremation. But at the time, the temple's crematorium was broken and couldn't be used. So the Undertaker stored the bodies in the cold room, intending to burn them later. However, the numbers kept increasing, and the bodies piled up for years, sealed in the dark, cold space. Until one day, a temple dog dragged a bag out and exposed one of the most horrifying secrets in modern Thai history. The case shocked the entire nation. Police, soldiers, and public health officials swarmed the temple. 3 people were arrested, including the Undertaker and a nurse's aide from one of the illegal clinics. They were charged with hiding corpses and other criminal offenses. The Thai government soon launched a crackdown on underground abortion clinics nationwide. When the photographs of the 2002 infant corpses spread across international news, the world was stunned. No one could believe that such horror had been hidden in the middle of Bangkok. Later, Wat Phai Ngoen held a mass cremation ceremony. Monks chanted for days, dedicating merit to the souls of all 2002 infants. The temple repaired its crematorium and built a memorial stupa to remember them. Even today, visitors often place dolls, flowers, and toys in front of the memorial to offer merit to the children who never got to live. And on some nights, monks have whispered that when they walk past the old crematorium, they sometimes hear the faint cries of babies carried in the wind, like voices still wandering, never leaving. 2,000 corpses are not just numbers in a newspaper. They are echoes of small lives stolen too soon. This may not be a ghost story, but it is one of the most haunting truths of humanity. Because sometimes, the most terrifying thing isn't the ghost, it's the human being. A story from the sinner's mouth. This is what I saw. Not a legend, not rumor, but something I witnessed with my own eyes. My name is Manop. I was the Undertaker at a small riverside temple in old Bangkok. I'd worked there for more than 10 years. I'd seen countless dead bodies, but never imagined I'd face something like that. It was mid-November, stifling hot. One afternoon, a temple dog trotted out from behind the crematorium, carrying a white plastic bag in its mouth. It dropped it right in front of me, like it wanted me to look. "Hey, drop that. What's that thing?" I yelled. The bag hit the ground with a dull thud. It didn't sound like garbage. It was heavy, and there was that smell, the smell of rotten blood and waste. I opened the bag just a little and froze. Inside was a tiny, pale arm, its fist clenched tight, as if still grasping something. My heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. I dropped the bag and ran to call the abbot. When he saw it, the old monk gasped and clutched his chest. Wrapped in the cloth was the body of a baby, no larger than a hand. Soon after, officials arrived. They opened the metal door to the cold room behind the crematorium. The stench hit us instantly, a mixture of rot, iron, and old death. Inside, the room was packed with white plastic bags, stacked like goods in a wholesale freezer. But what was inside was not food. We started counting: 300, 400, 800. By the end, 2,002 bags. Each one held a tiny corpse wrapped in cloth. Some still had umbilical cords. Some bags had names scribbled in marker. Most had nothing at all, just silence and the smell of death. I didn't know then where they all came from. All I knew was that the crematorium was broken and the bodies were stored temporarily. But later, I found out that temporarily meant over 4 years. After the discovery, news spread across the country, but within weeks, everything went quiet. The back area of the temple was sealed off. No one went near the cold room. I was assigned night duty to keep watch. That first night after everyone left, the old crematorium stood in silence. There was no electricity back there, just one flickering neon bulb. As I walked past the cold room, I heard something, a faint sound, like metal being scratched. Skirk, skirk, skirk. Maybe rats, I thought, or cats. But when I listened closely, I heard a different sound, a soft, distant cry, a child's voice, whispering right beside my ear. "Ma, I'm cold." I turned around. Nothing. I told myself it was my imagination, but every hair on my body stood on end. The second night, the sounds came again, louder this time. Thump, 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 like someone knocking from inside metal. I crept closer, flashlight trembling in my hand. I pulled the door open just a little. A burst of freezing air rushed out, carrying that familiar metallic stench. In the beam of my light, I saw one of the white bags move. It twitched, just slightly, as if something inside was trying to get out. I froze. Then came the cries, dozens of them, tiny voices echoing together, overlapping, trembling. Ma, ma, ma. Their chorus filled the metal chamber until I slammed the door shut and ran out into the dark. The next morning, I told the abbot everything. He didn't look surprised, just sighed deeply. Manop, there are many spirits here, he said. They haven't gone anywhere. I'll arrange a chanting ceremony. Until then, do not open that room again. I agreed, but that night I dreamed. In the dream, I was standing before the cold room. The door opened by itself. Inside were thousands of children, their skin pale, their bodies bruised greenish blue. No sound, just their faint breathing. One of them walked toward me. He reached out a tiny hand and tugged my shirt. "Uncle, I'm cold." I woke up, drenched in sweat. When I looked toward the cold room, there were small footprints on the dirt, leading right up to my door. Days passed. The monks planned a grand ceremony to cremate all the bodies, but the repairs on the crematorium weren't finished. The ceremony had to be postponed another week. I stayed on night duty, and every night at exactly 2 a.m., the crying began again. Sometimes I'd hear laughter, the sound of children running and playing in the courtyard, but there was no one there. One night, I sat in meditation before the cold room. I whispered, "If you need something, tell me." A soft crying surrounded me, and the air turned icy, like I was sitting in a freezer. That's when I knew. They were all still here, all 2002 souls, waiting for someone to let them go. The night before the cremation, a heavy rain poured. I went to check the cold room one last time to prepare for the ceremony at dawn. When I opened the door, all the bags were already opened. The cloths that had wrapped the infants were scattered across the floor, and in the dim light, the room was full of children. Hundreds, thousands, standing silently, some holding each other, some reaching out to me, some smiling, some crying. Then, suddenly, they all cried together. A single deafening chorus of voices. Cold, cold, cold. I fell to my knees, covering my ears, but the sound filled my head. Then one small voice whispered beside me, "Uncle, help me." I broke down in tears, not out of fear, but because I realized I had been the one who kept them here all along. At dawn, the ceremony began. Monks chanted continuously. When the fire was lit, the wind blew hard, as if resisting, but finally the flames caught, and the bodies burned peacefully. As the fire blazed highest, I saw hundreds of tiny shadows running around the crematorium, laughing softly. Then they vanished into the smoke. I wept again and prayed that they had finally found peace. Since that day, I left my job as an undertaker. Every night before I sleep, I still hear children's voices, but not crying anymore. They sound like laughter now, drifting from afar. I believe they've gone, but on some rainy nights, I still dream of that one boy, the one who said, "Uncle, I'm cold." He stands smiling beside the crematorium before fading away into the mist. I don't expect anyone to believe this story, but I hope you remember, every small life has value, and some spirits don't want to scare us. They just want us to remember them.